So the one we've just completed, which is the one that Deborah's talked about, is beginning to get quite a lot of play, I think, out in the world. We called it a connectivity study. And it was really generated by this issue focusing on the intersection of Martin Luther King and Northside Drive and a mile around, which encompasses English Avenue, Vine City, the University Center campuses, Castleberry Hill, downtown, the World Congress Center, the stadium, the multimodal passenger terminal facility. And so we sensed right away to the first studio that there was not much attention being given by anybody on how to physically, tangibly better connect the west side to the east side. And we heard that. It wasn't something we figured out. It was something we were told in meetings and meetings and meetings in Vine City, English Avenue, with Atlanta University Center folks, and so on. We need to be able to get to downtown, and we need to take advantage of projects that are underway to try to accomplish that goal. I didn't mention that in addition to that, Atlanta's scores at the bottom in terms of low-income people being able to progress out of the bottom fifth of the population on up the scale. Only 4% of the people in Atlanta who are in the bottom fifth of incomes are likely, their children likely to move even to the next quintile, let alone further up. So that's a study that was done by Berkeley and Harvard. So bottom line, and sort of coloring this whole studio, is all together we have about $5 billion worth of projects that are prospective or likely to happen. All of them have some degree of public funding. They all have public approval authority. And why can't we explicitly and assertively gain from this $5 billion some moves that begin to give our children and ourselves the ability to move out of that lower 20% of the population and have some kind of future before us, so that we don't score worse in terms of income disparity, so we don't score worse in terms of being able to rise up, and let's say, since we're in this room, stand up. There's a lot of discussion now about how Martin Luther King gets treated. The students felt that the Martin Luther King Drive could swing around the stadium, recognized that it had to be moved from its current location, but could swing around and maintain continuity on Martin Luther King, which is one of only two east-west streets to get you from the city line to the west into downtown and the freeway system. I've met this morning actually with the Falcons team to try to probe why that has to be. There's no question they've done a lot of work on it, but I'm not sure that this whole connectivity thing has penetrated the process. Basically what they're saying is we're doing the stadium, the city's supposed to be doing this other. We're sorry if we haven't communicated this clearly. And they've heard back the Atlanta University Center folks, NTUT, NPUL, Central United Methodist Church, a number of other leaders from the community raised serious questions about the viability of a plan that would essentially discontinue Martin Luther King from its present path and replace it with a couple of pieces, one on Mitchell Street, one on Martin Luther King. So those are actions that are right now before the City Council. We had, I think, a really productive work session on Wednesday. In my view, that work session should have happened 4 or 5 months ago so that all of us could actually know what the consequences of the actions that are being taken might be in terms of their own interests. And once the street alignment gets rearranged, that's for 25 years. And already they have a temporary relocation that's already impacting Central United Methodist Church.
Well, but we're going to start with the residents of Vine City, English Avenue, Castleberry Hills, Marietta Corridor, and the AV Center.
My name is Michael Taylor. I'm a senior political science major at Morehouse College. And I just have a question. How does this positively affect students in the AUC, if there are any positive effects?
So I think the Martin Luther King Drive discontinuity, I don't think helps Morehouse College. I think there's an opportunity out of all the energy that's going into this area to improve transit access into the AV Center campus.
As I look at this map actually shows what we have been discussing with the city and other people about creating a boulevard and transforming MLK into a boulevard that goes straight through downtown. So my question is, what has been the feedback to this map?
There's no way that you can separate water from air from noise pollution. All of them are connected. The whole corridor running up from the railroads all the way up past Georgia Tech up to the old steel plant is heavily polluted with heavy metals. The whole corridor where we are sending water to the Chattahoochee River is heavily impacted with not just fecal matter, but heavy metals. And the people who are living in these areas are impacted during construction periods. They're impacted after construction periods. Now, the problem that I have is that in this case, the Falcons are depending upon the city of Atlanta, and the city of Atlanta might be dependent upon the state legislature, and all of them are not really listening to the people who they supposedly represent.
Stormwater issue really hasn't been addressed as far as Rocket Creek is concerned. You're right about the World Congress Center and all of the impervious surfaces, parking lots and walkways and so forth. I tried to call 360 in Kansas City, they're the architects, and just to tell them, try to scare them and say, hey, if you don't deal with the stormwater, we're going to sue the snot out of you, but still haven't done that. I'm hoping Wawa will get involved in that, at least send them a certified letter. Number two is Steve Linwood's mentioned jobs. What jobs? Gypsy parking lots, sweeping up after the north side folk come in and trash up the place.
Not from Atlanta, but I came here because of all the things. We have a very good historic landmarks that has disappeared. And I'm opposed to anybody cutting up Martin Luther King. Because whenever I drive down Martin Luther King, my children, my grandchildren know that that's Dr. King. All the time we get rid of everything that we have for a fistful of dollars. And the power that be does not always have our in mind. What we want, what we need to do for our children. I didn't like it, and I don't like it now that we should go along with this. Make them so get to the table. I don't care in numbers, and sit down and talk to them about our concerns. I didn't like it. I had it for the attorney that said the community wanted this. No, not everybody in the community. Do not write that up that the community is for this. And we, as Black Americans, need to make sure that our children have something here.
The students have great learning opportunities because if nothing else, they begin to learn to listen to the community first as a basic source of information that has to be incorporated in any venture that is going to be successful.